jump straight into this. All right, excellent. I lost my slides up on the screen. Huzzah. There we go. So this is Don't Lose Your Cash Cow While Picking Out Your Designer Dog. I am Celeste Barclay. Before we jump into this is not time management. This is not productivity. This isn't about automations. So if that's what you're looking for, that is not me. And I'm okay with that. So if you'd like to find a different presentation, I understand. I won't be offended. But if you are here to learn more about marketing and about growing a second audience efficiently, yay. Please stay with me and listen to what I have to say. So just a little bit of background on me. I started publishing on April 15th of 2018. I now have 52 books out, 53 and a half done. I am the president of NINC, which is the premier organization for professional novelists. If you have questions about that, see me afterwards. I am a wife. I am a mom. I have 2 teenage boys. One of them just left for college in August. I admit it, I really like the Real Housewives. So that is my guilty pleasure when I am not a self-imposed workaholic. And I've learned a few things. I have some education that I put into play. So let's dive into it. So who is your cash cow? Can you answer this question already? Right? Do you know where they live? How old they are? Do you know what their socioeconomic status is? Those are demographic questions. Do you know the psychographics? The things that they're interested, how they spend their time, what they get up to when they're not reading your books, right? If you can answer those questions, you are already on the path to success. If you can't answer those questions, you might need to stop for a heartbeat and make sure that you can. So, let's be real. Let's call a spade a spade. This is work, right? It may feel like a lot, and it is, because you run a small business. And unlike other small businesses that may have employees, chances are you are a business of one. Maybe you have an assistant, maybe you have a family member or friend that you can delegate some of this to, but more likely, it's o solo mio. And that's okay, but you just gotta recognize it for what it is. So this may seem time-consuming, but if you get this down pat, then it will become second nature to you, and you will set yourself up for long-term success. Now, if you're anything like me, you wrote a book, you put it up for sale, and then you went, oh, snap, what do I do now? And let me tell you, I'm not a particularly whimsical person, but I wrote my first book on a whim. I like strategies. I like to plan. I did not do that. So perhaps you are in that situation, or perhaps you've gone into publishing with plenty of forethought and purposeful. But either way, there's a good chance that during your time building your first audience, there was some trial and error, maybe a whole lot of error, but there may have been things that were successful, and you can't pinpoint why that was. You can't exactly attribute it. So the goal of this is to look at those things that you can do that will make you successful so that you can efficiently grow that second audience and not forget about the one that you already have. Not forget about the folks who are already bringing you in money. Because you only have so much time, so many resources, and so much bandwidth. Those are finite. So how do you use those efficiently? So the goal, by the end of this, is that you will have some strategies in place so that these steps become second nature to you. And yes, there is a to-do list at the end. I'm a Virgo, I can't help it. So let's think about some of the things that you may already be doing, right? If you are running ads, do you know what the purpose of your ads are? Are you running ads that can accomplish these different things? We talk all about traffic ads because they are a classification on sites like Facebook. But there's more to it than just driving readers to a place where they can buy your books. Your social media, is it purposeful? You might have a platform you really, really like. As I've told my boys since they were toddlers, it's not all about you all the time, right? So what you may be into may not be where your readers are. So is it strategic? And your newsletter. We talk about how you own your list, about how, if anything happens to your social media, you can fall back to your newsletter, that they're a captive audience. Why is that? Because it's direct marketing. It's the same thing as going to a Tupperware party or a Scentsy party or Mary Kay or Avon or Usborne Books, whatever it may be. Those are all direct marketing. You go, you sit, you listen to a presentation, and then hopefully you buy something. Your newsletter is just the digital form of that. So why do you think you need a new audience, right? It could be that you are trying to find readers that you didn't realize that you had. You have more readers than you will ever meet. I know I do, because I can look and see how much I'm making. I can look and see how many people follow me on social media. Those are not exact correlating numbers. I know I have more readers than I can touch on my newsletter, more readers than I can have on my social media. Have I figured out who those people are? Do I have a way to bridge that gap and bring them into the fold so that I am building a direct relationship with them? Or am I trying to identify potential readers? I've been writing historical romance as Celeste Barclay for 5.5 years, but about 1.5 years ago, I decided, guess what? I'm gonna write mafia romance too. So I'm with a small house. I contacted my publisher on January 4th, and I said, so, I've spent 3 weeks reading mafia books. I really like them, and I'm going to write them. We're releasing the first book at the end of June in time for Beach Reads, and her name is going to be Sabine Barclay. My publisher said, well, okay then. How are we gonna make that happen? And I said, well, I've already started writing some of the books. Well, that's all good and well, but who am I selling the books to? Not exactly the same people who read my historicals. I have crossover because it's me. They have connected with me and my storytelling, but that's not 100% guaranteed. Not 100% of those people followed me over, because some of them really like Highlanders and Vikings and pirates and Regency, and they couldn't give two hoo-has about mafiosos. Even though I do say, if you like swords and kilts, chances are you will like suits and guns. But they don't all believe me. So when you are picking out this designer dog, right, isn't he kind of cute? I'm hoping it's AI and they didn't actually paint him, but he's still really cute. When you are doing this, you want to do it systematically in a way that, again, is going to allow you to maintain your time, your resources, and your bandwidth, to not forget about the people who are bringing in the money that allow you to run these new ads. Because it's really easy to get distracted and go wholehearted on this new thing, new and shiny, new people. But you've worked hard building a readership you already have. Don't forget about them, because there are an umpteen number of books out there and an umpteen number of authors for them to find. You don't want them to forget about you. And in this day and age, people want to build relationships. That's why we have social media. It's relationship building. And you can decide your boundaries. They're pseudo-relationships. I get that. But they want to feel connected. The days of being able to look at an author's picture and read a bio that's this long at the back of the book, bye-bye. Those are not there anymore. People want access to you. And so if they feel disconnected after you've built a relationship with them, there's a good chance that you're going to get put on the back burner. They may not forget about you, they may not abandon you, but you're not their favorite person. It's like Baskin-Robbins, you're not the flavor of the week. So, how do you do this? You research, and you research, and you do some more research. And this is the time-consuming part, and I admit that. But my mother's English, and we say, a stitch in time saves 9. It's the same idea. Put the time in now, and you will reap the benefits going forward. Look, y'all, let's be real. Let's call a spade a spade. You have written something unique, but you are not the first person to have ever written that. You have not created a new genre. I'm sorry to break that to you, but that is just not the case. You may have blended things in a very unique way, which is awesome, but there are going to be authors that you can find who are comps to you. And that's who you want to start with. Go to the authors in your genre, and if you write books that bend genres or cross genres, then look at authors from each of those. I'm very open about my opinion on how to gather this information, right? I data mine, but I am not a large corporation. I cannot afford to pay a service to do that for me, right? So I have to be resourceful on my own. What do? I go to other authors who are comparable to me. I look to see who's engaging with their social media, who's engaging with them across platforms, who's coming back to different posts, who has longevity with them. I click on their profile, and I start scrolling, and I look at the demographics and the psychographics, and I can glean a lot from that. If it's a locked profile, I'm not trying to break into Fort Knox. But if they have their business out there, who am I to not look, right? So I do it ethically, but I do it purposefully. Can you tell me who your current readership is? Clearly, concisely, and definitively. If you can't, there's a little bit of a problem there. We need to have a timeout, and we need to go back a couple of stages. But you want to be able to fill out this reader avatar. So, just a show of hands, has anybody ever heard of a consumer, customer, or reader avatar? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay, keep those hands up. Of those with your hands up, who have created theirs for their readers? Okay, that's cool. That's what I expected, right? So you want to be able to answer some fundamental questions about your new readership. But if you don't know what those questions are, or you haven't already answered them for your first audience, you will lose your cash cow, because you won't know what to tell them or what to feed them to keep them loyal to you while your focus is elsewhere. So think about where you can gather that information, right? And if you draw a blank, you're like, I don't know. I mean, I did it for my first audience and it worked, but you don't remember how exactly you did that. Go back to the sources from your research. Go to the retailers. We all want to be in somebody else's AusoBots. Well, look at that and see who's popping up in your AusoBots. Go check out those authors, because the retailer's already done some of the legwork. They're already saying, if you like author X, go check out A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on and so forth. We're providing you the links right here. Maybe you'll buy more than one book. Utilize that. Leverage it. Go check out those authors. Start using them as a way to gather this information. Look and see what type of posts they're creating, which ones get genuine engagement, who's repeating themselves, who's showing up again and again. If you do not know what a customer avatar is, or you have never done one before, or you just need something to write it all down on, please feel free, use the QR code, get the free PDF you can download from my website. Take the time to fill it out, either a pencil or a pen, or digitally, get it really well stuck in your mind. But these 4 quadrants apply across consumer behavior, all industries. So if you cannot fill this out, especially for the first audience you have, then you don't stand much chance of keeping that cash cow while you're trying to figure out all this information for the new one. So you please use this resource. By all means, download it, fill it out. So there's a couple of different ways to reach these folks, right? That's kind of all the precursory information I wanted to throw out at you. Let's actually look at some actionable items here as far as building that second audience is concerned. There's 2 different approaches to this. The first one is multi-channel marketing. That's the one that you're probably already doing. It's probably the one that you are most familiar with, right? It's the one that gives you access across all these different platforms, right? The idea is to cast the net wide. It works on the concept of volume, right? Imagine you're a deep sea fisher and you go trawling. You haul in your net, you get a bunch of the fish that you're looking for, but you got some that you don't want, you toss them back. But the goal was to fill those nets with as many fish as you could, hoping that you mostly get the people that you want. And that's good, that's fine. That is certainly one viable option. It's the one that most people use when they're first getting started. But there is a better way to do it, right? But if you decide to stick with multi-channel marketing, make sure there's consistency. That's my profile, that's my page, that's my Instagram, that's my threads. If you see me on Clubhouse, it's the same picture. It's the best photo that's ever been taken of me. I am holding on to it until I go to the grave, but it was taken a few years ago. Don't come up too close, you'll see more wrinkles. But it's everywhere. People see this, they know that's Celeste, right? I make sure that there is consistency in my voice, in my posts. I make sure that even though on my different series the covers differ, the font for the titles might differ, but generally speaking, the typeset for my name is pretty consistent across the board, right? I'm casting the net wide. So think about that. Are you using the same logo? Are you using the same profile photo across the board? Is it, if you have your photo in the back of your book, in your back matter, is it the same photo? Multi-channel really is about the consistency. It's the same thing over and over again, so when they find you, they know it's you. That said, it's exhausting. You cannot be all the places all the time for everyone. Not when you are a single person entity business. It's really hard. And if you are doing these things for your primary cash cow audience, you've already given them all you've got because you're trying to be all the places, what's left to give to your designer dog? If you focus on all the things, all the places with your designer dog, what's left to give the people who are paying you the bucks that are allowing you to run the ads for the new audience? So let's think of it as a more efficient way of doing things. And that's omni-channel marketing. Has anybody heard of omni-channel marketing before? Good, then you're in the right place. So omni-channel marketing is much more about the customer experience. It's about where they are in the journey, right? And this is consumer behavior marketing across the board. Does not matter what industry you're in. People behave the same way when they are buying. They have certain behaviors and certain attitudes that transfer across all the things. So this is not just specific to publishing, and it's not just my ideas. They're established principles. Because remember at the beginning I had that slide and I said I've learned a few things? I paid good money to learn this stuff. Lots of good money. So you want to meet them where they're at, right? A lot of times we talk about driving traffic. But why? What is happening when you're driving that traffic? Where are they in that process of getting to you and following you, right? So when you're thinking about your website, when you're thinking about your social media, when you're thinking about your ads, there's multiple purposes that they can serve, but one thing may not serve every stage, right? So needs recognition. I need to read a new book. What am I going to read? Who am I going to read? Right? That's needs recognition. That's the ones where you're building awareness. Hey, here I am. You'd love my books, right? Information search and evaluation of alternatives. That's the engagement. When they go to a retailer, they're bombarded by those also bots. You need to have a product that is strong enough that they will consider those alternatives and come back to you. You need something that will engage them. Your social media posts. It's great if you have 100 million people watch your video and it goes viral. But if 4 people buy your book from that, kudos, I feel great. It did not serve its actual purpose. Oh, yay, I have 1.4 million followers, but it's the same 20 people or the same 2,000 people who keep interacting. Yay, I feel really good about that. But something's not converting. They are looking at their alternatives and they're sticking with them. So you're wanting to drive traffic to the purchase. Get them wherever it is they need to go. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your website. And then one of the things that we tend to forget, because we're like, I got the purchase, I can see it on my dashboard. What's happening afterwards? Those post-purchase behaviors are really important. It's why we put links in our back matter and our front matter. But when you think about ad copy, if you loved my XYZ, try my ABC, right? So in my case, if you loved the Clan Sinclair, try out the Clan Sinclair Legacy. It's the second generation. Do you want to know more about Deirdre's cousin? Check out the spin-off from the Clan Sinclair and look at the Highland Ladies. That kind of premise, right? So post-purchase, keep moving them along, right? These are factual steps. So if you can internalize these, whether it's for the audience you already have or the one that you are starting to build, I promise you, it will be so much more time efficient. And part of the process is weeding out the folks who are not a good fit for you. And that's okay. Not everybody is your readership. So you might meet them along this journey, and they're evaluating the alternatives, and they realize, this isn't right for me. And they go with somebody else. That's okay. The last thing you need is a bad review or returns. So again, this sounds like a lot of work. It is a lot of work. But this is not just my opinion, right? There is proof here that is available to see that omni-channel marketing works. Think about how much time you probably spend on your smart device, right? Whether you want to admit it or not. I know it's glued to me. I left it in the room the other day, and I was about to go out to meet some friends, and I almost panicked. I was like, well, I can't leave without my phone. I've got to go back up and get it. You know, when I first got a cell phone many, many years ago, I was not that worried about it. But I do everything on my cell phone, right? And I do use it to consider what I'm purchasing. So are your ads, are your graphics, is the amount of ad copy you have mobile friendly? Omnichannel marketing brings in a much higher conversion rate because it's specific to the point in the journey where your consumer is. It's not casting the net wide and hoping to get folks. And it allows you to be consistent. You can synchronize your message across multiple channels, and you have the freedom to say, actually, this is not right for me. This isn't where my readers are. I don't need to be everywhere. I can focus on where they want to be, right? For me, I know that my readership for Celeste Barclay, who writes steamy historical, is not the same as my readership for Sabine Barclay, who writes mafia. They're not, right? So I can tailor my marketing strategies to make sure that I don't forget about my older readers while I'm trying to look exciting and pretty for my younger readers. So let's loop back around, right? What was the whole point of this? Going back to the purpose of those ads. When you think about what you're running now, can you identify what you're trying to accomplish with the ads you have? If you can't, then you need to seriously reevaluate why you're putting money into it. If you're putting money into it and it's going well, but you don't know why, that's also a problem because it's going to be hard for you to replicate, right? With your social media, you don't have to be all the places, but you do have to be where your readers are, right? So I know for me, I'm Gen Y, Oregon Trail. I'm smack dab in between millennials and Gen X, right? Most of my friends are Gen X. My parents are boomers. My grandparents are deceased, but they were the greatest generation, right? I know what I'm into. I know what my friends are into. I know the experiences my parents and grandparents had by watching them. I have Gen Z kids. They're teenagers. I'm not living the experience of millennials, right? I know them, but I'm not one of them. So I want to make sure that I'm where they are. So when I started the Sabine brand, I was like, well, that means I have to be on Instagram. And Instagram's okay, but I'm Gen Y, I like Facebook. That's my comfy spot. So I realized, okay, I can keep posting on Instagram and I can work there, but that is where my readers are, but it's not my sweet spot. However, they are on Facebook. They're in those huge reader groups. Facebook may not be where those younger readers are hanging out with their friends. It may not be where they're following influencers, but they are in those massive groups. So I can be there too. So making sure that social media is purposeful. And then with your newsletter, use it as a chance to gather data and not just quantitative data, not just how many people clicked this. Use it as qualitative data. Are you getting emails back because you've asked an open-ended question? Are you putting in surveys that are just an easy click for them, but have nothing to do with books, right? Do you like the beach, the mountains, the desert, right? What was your favorite movie? Any of those things. That's going to give you feedback on their demographics and their psychographics. So when you go back to fill out that avatar worksheet, you've gained more information because they are your captive audience. How am I doing on time? So there is a little bit of time management in this presentation because there's a lot, and I get it. Okay? So some of the things that you can do are to automate. Right? You can create that strategy. You can know, okay, I'm going to run awareness ads. I'm going to run engagement. I'm going to have social media posts that are for traffic. I'm going to have content in my newsletter that's for post-purchase behavior. Once you know what those look like, then you just fine-tune the wording. You change it up for whatever the book is. Right? You put in a slightly different graphic. But if you know what stage you're in for each of these, you can automate them. And that's what you should be doing with your established audience. You do need to put them a little bit on autopilot while you are focusing on building this new designer dog. Because if you don't, again, if you ignore them, the money that you are making to be able to afford to build this new audience, bye-bye. Never mind what you need the money for in real life. Okay? And then we can also see that, hold on a second, you can mobilize your readers to do a lot of the legwork. And this does not mean that you have to have yet another thing to do with an official street team. If you want to build a street team, good on you, right? If you want to leave it a little bit looser than that, that's fine. But get them to do the legwork for you. You are one person, maybe two if you have an assistant. There are hundreds and thousands of people out there that you can connect with. Get them to be brand advocates for you, right? Get them to do some of that work. And that may mean that you incentivize them. Maybe you run a giveaway. You know, person who engages the most in your Facebook group can win an ebook, right? Or show me where you've talked about me somewhere else. Any number of things. But in order to give yourself back some time, automate or have other people do things for you. You know, I tell my kids, it's like, I love you, but didn't you know I don't like to clean bathrooms or take out trash? That's why I had you. Sometimes they find that funnier than others. Generally not so funny because it's a little too close to the truth. But I know that my friends down here have children. They get it. So what are those action items? I told you I'm a Virgo. I like to-do lists. I'm also a teacher. I like to give out homework. So when you are considering this and you are looking at building that new readership or making sure you have a solid relationship with the readership that exists, can you do these things? If you can't, especially for the readership you already have, then you need to pause. You need to take a time out. You need to go back and do that. When you're creating your graphics and your ad copy, do you know about these different types of attitudes and buying behaviors? And if you don't, come see me tomorrow, because I have a presentation on this tomorrow afternoon. Here. You need to be able to identify that, because we talk about test, test, test all the time. Do you know what you are actually testing for? Because maybe you have the perfect graphic, maybe you have the perfect ad copy, they are not perfect together. Right? And then from there, build a strategy. Because bringing in the right readers is important. I think that's a no-duh kind of moment, right? There I'm showing my age. But you also want to repel the ones that are not right for you, because you don't want the returns, you don't want the poor reviews, you don't want the bad word of mouth, right? So it's just as important to say thank you, no thank you to the wrong people, right? And be prepared to handle those challenges that may come along the way, because they are almost inevitable. So go back to that avatar worksheet. In the top right corner, there is a part about challenges and pain points. Identify those ahead of time, right? Be able to make sure that you are ready with a contingency plan. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. I work with authors one-on-one, so if you have questions and you would like to explore this a little bit more, you'd like some assistance, either to help digest what I have thrown at you today or a little bit more one-on-one, please feel free, reach out to me. We'll chat. All right? So I am happy to open it up to questions if there are any. Can you use the mic, please? Yes, use the mic.
Hi, Ms. Barclay. Okay. So, right now there's a lot of upheaval in social media, right? So I'm middle-aged. I don't like TikTok. I'm just going to go and put that out there. And Facebook is constantly shifting the algorithms and stuff. So when you tell us about reaching, keeping our current reader versus going out and looking for more potential readers and trying to fill out where we belong, do you have any tips for doing that in right now when, for instance, Facebook, which I like Facebook, it's my safe, if I'm gonna do social media, it's likely to be Facebook, but everybody sees that right now half of our news feed is ads and group and pages stuff. If I clicked on something 5 minutes ago, then I'm seeing it, in tomorrow. So
if you think it, you will see it.
So, right, before it even comes out of my head, Facebook knows. So, what are your? Do you have suggestions for how to navigate that and try to find my potential readers right now when in social media things are shifting, algorithms are shifting very quickly on a constant basis?
That is something that we're all contending with, and it is very frustrating, right? Because we talk about utilizing and leveraging your social media. So there's a couple of things that I would recommend on that. Drive people specifically to where you are on social media, right? So if Instagram is your jam, the back of your books and your back matter, even in your front matter, tell them to go engage with you there, right? If your jam is Facebook, like me, like Shannon, drive them towards that. Go and look at other authors who have a strong social media presence. And again, not just the people who have a couple thousand likes or have gone viral. Look and see, are they the same people coming back and engaging with these posts over and over again? Who are their actual loyal readership? Not just the scroll I like kind of deal, the authentic ones. And emulate. Start creating content that is going to draw those people over, as well as creating content that is going to tickle those algorithms, because it's about relevancy. You can be putting out great content, but if it is not matching up with the people that are already in your ecosystem, then you're not going to get that visibility. So really think about it. When I put up posts, sometimes they're just funny memes, right? But a lot of times, it's strategic. I know that in my Facebook group for Celeste readers, I can put some pretty randy stuff in there. I write high steam, but I cannot put in there what I can get away with in Sabine's group. Them ladies be cray over here. I love them, but the threshold for Randy is much higher there. So if I'm putting content that fits well for Sabine's readers over in my Celeste Barclay group, it's not going to get traction. And Facebook's going to think that the stuff that I'm posting is irrelevant. So learn and grow from other people who are having success, and then tailor it so that the algorithm and Facebook think that you are relevant. Because you're fighting a humongous hydra, an octopus with way more than 8 tentacles. So you've got to get their attention and say, look at me, I'm the one that you should be showing. Does that answer your question? Yes. Thank you. Good.
I think I don't know if I got confused or I missed something, but when you're talking about omni-channel marketing, it said to have content specific to the channels of your website, newsletter, and social media. And then the next slide, it said you're supposed to be consistent.
So consistent within that. So you know that if you create certain graphics for Facebook, they are not well optimized on Instagram. The shape, the size is not right. Okay? You can have the same consistent messaging, but make sure that it's appropriate for that medium, right? If you have a reel, make sure you take off, if you have a TikTok, make sure you take off the watermark so that you can use it elsewhere. Think about what length works best for each of those channels, because it isn't the same. And video is king, that's for sure, but it's not exactly the same across each platform. So be consistent with what you're doing for each platform, but know that they are not all created equal. Does that make sense? Exactly, because it's about the customer experience. It's about the journey they're on. And if it does not work for that particular platform, it will not resonate with them. They will just scroll straight past, or it just won't show up in their feed because it's not tickling the algorithms. Okay? Yes?
Hi. Just continuing on that algorithm question. When maybe more about the mental game, it can be pretty demoralizing when you know, until you get to the point when, let's say Facebook, just for the sake of this conversation, shows it to more than 3 people. Mm-hmm. So how do you keep up? Or what advice would you have to just not drop the ball when you don't see the traction?
So that's where the consistency comes in, because it can be seriously disheartening to be throwing stuff up and it just doesn't feel like it's moving the needle at all. I get that. So if you have a strategy in place for what type of content you want to post where, automate it. Whether it's a native scheduling on the platform or it's a third-party site, you know, you might schedule in Meta or you might use Hootsuite, whatever it is. But have a plan for what type of content. What is that content supposed to accomplish? And put it in so that's scheduled, right? Especially when you're trying to build that second audience and you don't want to forget about your cash cow, automate what you can, right? And follow up on it and see, okay, I've tried this day of the week for this kind of content. Kind of fell flat. Maybe people are busy with their weekend plans. Let me try this kind of content on another day. Or look, I got a little bit of traction here on this day, but maybe it's the wrong time. Okay? I believe in the scientific method. Change one variable at a time. So maybe it is the time or the day. Maybe it is the graphic. Maybe it is the content. But we don't have control over any of the social media algorithms, and they are not in our favor unless you are spending big bucks on ads. Because we mere peons do not make them tons of money, so that we are not, you know, we're not as big a priority as those people who are spending on ads. So I would just say test, automate so that you're not sitting there every day wondering what you should post, feeling demoralized because you're not getting traction. Set it up, and then be able to go back and reflect and fine-tune. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Can I ask another one since nobody?
Of course, by all means.
So on that note, then, how much of a evergreen content do you recycle, or do you focus on always creating a new one?
So, yes. I
Which
would
one?
say I have a big catalog. I have a lot of books. I have over 50 books between 2 pen names. So for me, I can have quite a bit of evergreen because I've got books I've got to keep going back and reminding people, because I have to remember not everybody comes in at the very first book I wrote and goes all the way along sequentially, right? So I have evergreen content that is going to be able to remind people of my older books. But then I have newer content that is for something that's specific, whether it's a new release, whether it's a sale or it's a promo, or maybe it's an anniversary of a book's release. So there's some stuff that I can go back and I can recycle, or I can use the same graphic, change the wording a little bit, right? Keep the wording, give them a different graphic. But just like we're supposed to do, reduce, reuse, recycle. I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel, all right? Because right now I am a one-woman show. I am with a small house, but I am finally admitting that I need help, and I'm going to get an assistant, but there's only so much time and bandwidth and resources that any of us have. So I have 1 minute and 57 seconds. Anybody else have a question? Yes. It's the same deal. You know, you may have some readers that will follow you across because it's you, right? Some of my historical readers have followed me over to Mafia because it's me. Actually, more than I thought would, to be honest, because the bulk of the readerships are quite different demographics and sociographics. That's your cash cow, right? But if you're writing in other genres with just one pen name, that's fine. You are still building a new readership that is specific to that genre. Or you might also be building that readership that you didn't realize is there, right? Those are the folks that outnumber the ones that you know of. So you want to be implementing these strategies, whether it's a brand new genre you're building into or you're trying to tap into it. You know, if you are writing, say, for example, YA, that's a big spread. There are young adults and then there are soccer moms, right? So you have the adults who are purchasing for themselves, you have the adults that are purchasing for someone else, and you have the ones who are old enough to be purchasing for themselves. Your verbiage is not going to resonate across the board. So that's a secondary audience that you may not have realized that you're trying to hit, because you've got 3 different types of consumers within that one genre. Does that answer your question? Sure. There's no, I have my preference. It's no secret that Sabine and Celeste are the same person, but I do have separate groups, separate newsletters, separate pages for things, but they cross-pollinate. That's one way of doing it. If that's not your jam, that doesn't mean that it's the right way to do it. Figure out what is. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. And if you do want to learn more about consumer behavior and looking at attitudes and buyer behaviors so that when the market shifts, you're still bringing in the money, come see me tomorrow.